DNVR Broncos live, coming to you from Studio A here at the DNVR Bar, where the A stands for already been an interesting morning.
Sure attacking.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Wow.
Definitely not trash.
I mean, best trash podcast in the world.
It's very true.
Wow.
That person would even agree with it.
In their own words?
Yes, exactly.
In their own words. Gotta love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
The
Yep.
tough part is, though, like, I don't know. Like, we've talked before about why Javonte is just not somebody that you can bet on for this season. But I guess when you only do that, like, once a month or whatever, once every 8 shows, it can kind of get lost. Like, you know, like maybe it is good just to say that every once in a while, like,
said it yesterday.
Like I think we did yesterday actually, yeah, which is ironic. But yeah, it's like, yeah, there's an 18% chance that he comes back and is himself again at some point in his career, based on 16 years of injury history.
What's so crazy and so unfortunate, and we're going to talk more
Real
about...
quick, we're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Get over to DraftKings Sportsbook.
Good
Use
job.
the code DNVR.
Actually, you know what? Let's save the Javonte Williams talk.
Yeah, there's plenty of time.
Until
right.
after
There's plenty
we
of time.
start...
Also, if you don't know what we're talking about, just go to my Twitter.
Yes, it's very true. A former Bronco clapped at us.
Yep.
Tried to, I should say.
Yep. Now everyone's clapping for us.
It's very, very true. Guys, rumor mill is going around after the combine. And Matthew Berry really provided us with a lot of Broncos rumors. I mean, he wrote 23 rumors that he heard about at the combine, and it just kept going. He was like, here's a Broncos one. Speaking of the Broncos, here's another one. Speaking of the Broncos, here's another one. And he just kept feeding us information. And let's start with the juiciest one that he heard. And I need to preface with Matthew Berry's article. He says many times in the intro how he is not reporting these things. But then he also adds, I talked to everyone. And everyone knows who Matthew Berry is. And I don't think anyone is expecting Matthew Berry to be reporting any of these things. But I do trust Matthew Berry when he hears these things.
We've done this too, coming from the combine. So I can't like shit on Matthew Berry for being like, okay, these are rumors.
Right.
It's what we're here. Like I've done it before. I've literally written an article that said the same thing.
Yeah.
It's here's the buzz of the combine. And the truth is you can learn a lot from the buzz of the combine.
It's true.
And then other times, you know, you just there are things floated out there and thrown around that don't end up being true.
Yeah.
But think of it this way. This is what Matthew Berry heard being around tons of NFL people at the bars.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, this is what happens at the combine.
Yeah, and normally, like if it was Adam Schefter doing this, you'd be like, "Oh, come on, you're either reporting it or you're not. You can't do this." It's Matthew Berry. Like Matthew Berry,
Perfect
like
lane for
it's
him.
exactly like this is right up his alley. I'm just gonna go find as many crazy rumors as I can, write them all down, and see what hits.
Well, and like we had Case Keenum to the Broncos from the buzz at the combine. We aren't reporting Case Keenum's going to the Broncos,
Right.
But we came on the show and said, "Hey, everyone around here is talking about Case Keenum going to the Broncos. So take that for what you will."
Yep.
And then what happened?
And Case Keenum
came to the Broncos. And so let's also
Thanks,
kind
Alibot.
of... Oh, Alibot giving us some love. So the... what was that you hear?
That was a dog.
Oh, right. Love it. So let's start, and we can also, you know, interject what we've heard, what we know, say if we agree with them, say if we don't agree with them. And this first one, the juiciest. Speaking of big-name quarterbacks, this is from Matthew. Speaking of big-name quarterbacks coming off down years, more than one person mentioned to me that Russell Wilson is basically on a one-year audition. There's no way Denver can cut him this year, but next year, while the dead cat hit would certainly be bad, it could be spread out over 2 years and wouldn't be franchise crippling. Said one source, quote, I don't think Sean Payton likes Russ. He's got 1 year to prove himself or Payton will move on, unquote. This source pointed out that Payton has said multiple times in public on the record how Russell keeps, quote, bothering Drew Brees. Payton tries to play it off for a laugh, but my source doesn't think Payton actually thinks it's funny.
I thought you were going a different way. I thought you were going with my nipples are hard for Allen Lazard.
No,
but no, you thought this was the big one.
Yeah.
He said that?
That was one of the things.
It wasn't one. I mean, he let it off, then he brought it up again in the intro, then he brought it up again later. So I just let Matthew play with that one.
My nipples are hard for Alan Lazard.
Yep.
Is that a fantasy team name?
No, that's a thing he heard at the combine.
That a team is interested in bringing Alan Lazard on.
Is it the Broncos?
No, he mentioned the Ravens and the Chiefs.
Makes sense. The speed teams.
So Andy
also
Nipples.
chilly in those cities.
Andy Nipples. Andy Reid's nipples might be hard.
Andy Nipples.
Andy Nipples.
Oh boy, Big Alan Lazard. That's his new nickname, Andy Nipples. Oh, but yeah, back to Russell Wilson.
I can't believe I lay out this juicy stuff and you switched to nipples.
Derail.
Wow, that was a bad one, Henry. That was a bad derail.
Well, I just was caught off guard by you thinking that was the important news.
Wow.
You just wanted to talk about the Chiefs.
No, it's very true.
No.
Boom, boom, boom.
No, I wanted to talk about the lizard. But yeah, Russell Wilson, it kind of makes sense. We were talking about halfway through this season. It's like, could they try to get off this offseason? Everybody's like, no, you wouldn't do that. But then you still talk about it because you're like, well, I mean, maybe. He has been really bad. And what everybody did decide was like, yeah, maybe after next year is when you kind of could consider it. Interesting that came out. Definitely interesting that came out. But also, it's one of those things that you probably expected. Is that fair?
Ryan, Henry with another swing and miss, just trying to hit like the meat of what this was again.
Wow.
This isn't about moving on from Russ after this year. This is about him simply saying a source told him that Sean Payton does not like Russell Wilson.
All right. So,
and really quick, one of the things that we've talked about a lot is just how Sean just likes to dodge questions about Russ. In multiple occasions, he's brought up like, so you and Russ had dinner, and he's like, whoa.
Yes.
I mean, Joe Montana was there too. We were tied. Russ tried to talk ball with me, but I wanted to talk to Joe. And this is another one, which I think is a really good point, because we haven't talked about this one yet, but it has been brought up about. He has mentioned many times how Russell Wilson has been, getting on Drew Brees' nerves. I think is what he said, and he's kind of playing it off as a joke. But
I think he keeps saying he's like bugging him. He just keeps bugging Drew.
He's bugging him, and he said it multiple times now. And to me, in the way that Matthew Berry reads it, is that it's not a positive thing. It's like an annoying thing.
Yeah, this is. So I can't remember if we've talked about this directly on the show, but we talked about it a lot behind closed doors, which is Sean Payton has avoided any and every question that tries to like tie him to Russell Wilson.
Right.
He doesn't want this to be considered like, wow, Sean Payton took the Denver job because he just really wants to work with Russell Wilson. He is definitely keeping anything with Russell Wilson at an arm's length.
Right.
He's not saying it's going to be an open competition for QB1, but he's essentially saying like, no, don't marry me to Russell Wilson.
Yep.
And I think that this Matthew Berry rumor supports that. He wants it to be known like he took the Denver job, not the Russell Wilson job.
Yeah. I don't think it's all about optics, though. I just think he doesn't. I think that like 95% of football fans and reporters or whatever else, he thinks Russell Wilson's bad. Like, I think that's what it is. I don't know that it's so much like I don't want people to think that me and him are like, this is what's going to define me. I think it's more so that that's just kind of the honest truth is that he doesn't think he's very good. And if he's not good, they're going to move on.
And the interesting part about that is that what he's gathered is that the Broncos wouldn't be afraid to move on from Russell Wilson after this season. Right now, they would have a $107 million dead cap if they did it this year. That's why we talked about, unless they were go to the ends of the world to make something happen, they were not going to move on from him. But after this year, still a significant cap hit. And according to what he's hearing, the Broncos would be willing to move on from him with that.
I will say I disagree with the Drew Brees part of this.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that's a real thing. I don't think Sean Payton is actually like, oh my God, Russ keeps annoying Drew Brees. It's so lame. I think he's just like, I don't know. He's kind of joking about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, Russ won't leave Drew Brees alone. He's trying to learn more about the offense. It's like, I personally don't think that's a legit gripe of Sean Payton's.
And I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't think that calling Drew Brees over and over and over again is super helpful. Like, yeah, he's been in the offense, but like you have coaches who run the offense. Like, sure, Drew Brees has some insights, but I don't think at this point, unless Russ has been given a playbook, I don't know. That would be weird to be like, hey, be my study guide as I go through this.
I have a little pushback for you, though, Ryan, by saying that one of the things, and one of the times at least, when Sean was talking about this, he said, yeah, like Drew said, are you going to take this job or not? Because Russ just keeps talking to me about, I need him off my back a little bit. It was something along those lines. And to me, it does feel like a little bit of an annoyance to Drew that he's relayed to Sean, that now Sean on multiple occasions has relayed to the media, and he doesn't say it every time as like a laughing thing. It could be, but I just think you take that along with the other things of how when Russ wants to talk ball with him, he's like, nah, I got Joe Montana right here.
Drew Brees should have the balls to tell Russ, like, hey, bro, this isn't gonna be like a thing where I just help you every day.
Remember, Drew Brees also, who was it? Pat McAfee. Yeah, just walked away from him to the PHNX podcast.
Yeah, Pat McAfee's probably tired of Drew hitting him up all the time.
Probably. And if the Broncos were to get rid of Russ after next year, it would be $85 million to cut him, which would mean in back-to-back years you'd be paying like the 40 to 45 mil. That'd be like the biggest dead cap hit ever, and you'd do it in back-to-back years, which is still kind of crazy. There is a chance, though, that if you can just get Russell to play well enough that you could trade him, and that would take that from 85 to 68, and the team that took him on would be taking on a fully guaranteed 2-year, $54 million contract. So $27 million a year. And just for perspective, I mean, Derek Carr got $37 million a year. So if you can just get Russ to within $10 million of Derek Carr this year, that could save them some money down the line.
Dream on, though. That if Russ plays good enough where another team wants to trade for him and do that, the Broncos aren't gonna trade him because of what the dead cap that they'd have to take on. That would be just a line that I don't see two circles like connecting over.
Yeah, to me it was kind of always this year. Like if you're gonna do it, you go crazy this year and go tank mode, or in 2 years is when it becomes another like realistic option. For me, it wouldn't make sense to do it after next season because there's no Caleb Williams at the end of the rainbow.
Right. Yeah, it's fair. And
Arch. I guess that'd be the year
after. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're still taking the dead cap hit that next year too.
Yeah, I mean, tanking for 2 years would be rough. Would be rough.
What is crazy is Russ's contract hasn't even kicked in yet.
Yeah.
I know. But there is part of me that believes that Russell Wilson is going to turn it around this year. Full turn.
Oh, yeah.
Not just like, oh, yeah, he's like as good as Case Keenum was.
Yeah.
Like, I think he could get back to very strong levels of play. And that just changes everything for the Broncos. I mean, right now is the darkest timeline. The Broncos traded massive assets to get a terrible player last season. I think luck was against them, and I think that the way that Nathaniel Hackett let Russ operate was detrimental to the overall operation. I think Nathaniel Hackett lost all of his confidence in play calling early in the season and got super vanilla. I think that that lack of confidence caused them to try and change things over and over and over again, and they never got into any sort of rhythm. And I think Sean Payton is going to come in, put his foot down. We've already seen with the Russ stuff, make Russ be one of the guys. I think Russ might actually have the self-awareness to realize that not being one of the guys is detrimental. And I think Sean Payton is going to come in and call a fantastic offense. That we can count on for sure. And all of that could mix together to make Russell Wilson not just okay again, but good again.
Yeah, and this whole conversation that we're having is obviously if he's not good. And we've talked about, and we'll continue to talk about, but we think Sean Payton's the best thing for Russell Wilson. If anyone can turn Russell Wilson around, it is Sean Payton. And so this conversation isn't just saying, no, there's no chance he turns it around. And so it is fair to bring that up, Ryan. And something that I think we all believe is going to be a big help for Russell Wilson is what they do in the run game. If Javonte Williams is healthy, is where this conversation starts. And so let's dive into this rumor that Matthew Berry heard. He said the most fascinating nugget about Denver and possibly of the whole combine. This is a national guy.
I'm not fascinated by this, by the way.
Oh, okay, geez. Was about Javonte Williams' health, and I'm told there is a very wide range of possibilities regarding his return. So this first part, it's kind of funny because he covers all his bases here. He says, there is a chance he is healthy to start the year. There's a chance he misses multiple games. And there is a chance he misses all of next year.
This is a Comcast-ass window right here.
Yeah, exactly. It's even bigger than that.
Yeah.
It covers literally everything. But here's where the interesting part is. He says, I was told he is currently a lot more hurt than the team is letting on publicly, and that the Broncos are secretly nervous. So that's the part where this doesn't shock me, but this is on the heels. Likely Matthew Berry heard this after Tuesday morning's press conference with George Paton, when George Paton publicly kind of said that Javonte Williams is on track. They hope that he's ready for week 1. Now, we talked about how George Paton's words, if you just take that one quote, it's like, oh, great news. The way George Paton continued to talk about Javonte, though, a lot more uncertainty to that. And so I think Matthew's hearing this on the heels, or hearing those things on the heels of hearing this from George. And that's what we've kind of said. We're very skeptical, at least I'm very skeptical, I think you guys are too, of Javonte Williams being fully healthy to go week 1. In fact, I'm skeptical that he's going to be fully healthy at any point this season, and we had someone who knows more about this than anyone on our show tell us. Terrell Davis was on the show, and he said, you get fully healthy.
So that was his number one piece of advice for Javonte.
Yeah, get fully healthy before coming back. And so I'm skeptical he's going to be fully healthy at all this year. So for me, I say just sit this year.
Yeah, and that is what sparked the take that Melvin Gordon took such issue with on Twitter was, hey, look, Derrick Henry is on the trade block. Who knows what the price is? Maybe the price is 2 firsts and you don't even touch it and you move on. But if the price is something palatable, it makes a hell of a lot of sense to go get Derrick Henry on a 1-year, $10 million deal and tell Javonte, hey, bro, you don't have to do anything this year. You know, like you stay out, you make sure you are 100% healthy. We don't want to rush anything. Look at Jamal Murray last year with the Nuggets. He sat out the whole season.
Yeah.
I think people took issue with it at the end because they were like, whoa, like it's been over 12 months since the injury. But in the end, he didn't want to rush back. Now, you know, he's back to what he was before the injury happened at all. I realize we're talking about 2 different sports here, but this is it.
Both young stars, though.
The reason we had this take is out of love for Javonte. Not we're done with Javonte.
Yep.
It was, hey, let's make sure that Javonte is Javonte before he sets foot on the field ever again.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, average recovery for that injury is 15 months. So
that gets you to the end of the season.
Beginning of January.
Yep.
So if you're in the playoffs, it'd be great to have him back. But that's also like assuming that he's himself. Now, again, those are from injuries from 2000 to 2016. So you knock a couple months off probably just because technology improves so much. Still, just not something that you can bet on. And, you know, I honestly think the biggest issue at the run game last year wasn't the offensive line. It was the running backs. The running backs were not good enough. You know, that offensive line, was it great? No. But you can look through, like, the yards before contact. They were right around league average. Like it's not like they're horrible. Even the total stats, like they were 21st in rushing yards, 17th in yards per carry, and you're doing that without Garrett Bowles, and you're doing it without whoever else. And I don't think that you can repeat what happened last year. You can't just expect Latavius Murray to be a bell cow number 1 back and for him to be a league average back. He did it for half of the time he was here, and that was great. He's also now 33, and if he's part of a rotation, sure. But you're still, I mean, that's a back who probably should not be in a rotation, if we're being honest. You know, he was really good those last few weeks, but there's a reason why he wasn't on anybody's roster before that. You know, you need to add a couple, and if Javonte comes back, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's a really tough situation for the Broncos to be in. The other side of this is you go the cheap route. Draft a running back late in the draft and roll the dice and hope that they're, you know, the next Isaiah Pacheco. But it is absolutely a roll of the dice.
And if you do that, there's a good chance that will just tank your offense. Because, again, I think the biggest problem, I guess it has to be running game, because that passing game was a mess. But the fact that you just had nobody who could provide an explosive run, I mean, there was like a 4 or 5 game stretch where they weren't hitting anything more than 10 yards.
Yep.
Like the longest touchdown run by a running back last season was Latavius Murray. He had 1 10-yarder. Everything else, you're inside the 10 when you score a touchdown with a running back.
Remember when in the Carolina game, the Broncos had an 18-yard run or a 22-yard run? And Justin out and told us after the game, he's like, man, we were so excited. Everyone was cheering, going up and down because I set the bar at like 17 and a half and they hit it with 18.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I understand like small victories and having those things, especially in a down season, but how depressing is the state of the offense and the running game and the explosive part of the offense when that's what you're celebrating.
And David in the comments says you can get a great running back in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah,
You can.
You can get a great anything in the 4th or 5th round. But what do you expect?
If you're counting on that to be your starting running back for your offense or the other guy next to Latavius Murray, to me, Javonte Williams is not a part of this conversation. In my eyes, there's no chance that he starts week 1.
Agreed.
And so you have to start making plans for, I don't know, at least the first 6 weeks of the season. And even that feels hopeful to me.
At least. And so, Ryan, I've got a name for you.
So just to finish that, a 4th round running back, and you're saying he's going to be the 1 or the 2 in our 1-2 punch alongside Latavius Murray is one hell of a gamble.
And real quick, I've done this a bunch of times, and everybody's probably sick of it. Isaiah Pacheco, he is the only 7th round running back in the last 4 seasons who, as a rookie, has had 500 rushing yards. He's one of 14. Tyler Algier, the 5th round pick. You know, he's the only 5th round pick in the last 4 seasons that's had 500 rushing yards as a rookie. He's one of 11 backs drafted in that time. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but if you're just saying,
what about 3rd round?
Third, there's been 4 of 13 in the last 4 years.
Okay.
So, which again, 31%. But again, if that is your only plan, and then you say there's a 69% chance, because again, 500 yards is not a high bar to clear. You know, that doesn't necessarily make it a good season.
But to be fair, though, you have to imagine that those players, for the most part, aren't the team's number 1 option.
True.
So not getting all of the reps in order to get 500 yards. So that's also should be in the equation as well.
Yeah.
But they're also probably not behind a Nick Chubb or Dalvin Cook. They're going into a situation where a team has a running back that they like but don't love.
No, not necessarily. I don't.
Do you think the Titans are drafting 3rd round running backs recently?
What was Darren Evans?
I think for the most part that those players as a rookie, if you're picked not in the 1st or 2nd round, you're coming in as the backup. Yes.
Fair enough.
Probably.
But I have a name. You guys are very skeptical of going with a rookie, and I totally understand that, not having a 1st or a 2nd round pick. But I have a name that's being connected to Denver who is not a rookie, who would come in and be your starter week 1. First, I got to tell you about our friends over at Run Your Pool. Run Your Pool Selection Sunday. This coming Sunday. Guys, we're this close to March Madness. What does that mean? We're 9 days away from the tip-off of the tournament. And if you are going to make a tournament or a bracket, which I know all of you are, join us because we're pairing up with Run Your Pool, and it's free. And we're giving you prizes. First place gets $300 cash prize plus a $75 DNVR locker gift card. Second place, $150 cash prize. Third place, $50. It's not only fun, but it's free, and you'll be doing it with us. So you can sign up over at play.runyourpool.com/DNVR, and you can start doing that after brackets open this coming Sunday, and you got to get in by the time that the tournament starts on March 16th. That's next Thursday. We're all going to be doing it, and make sure to get in. All you do, you pick your bracket. You're going to do it anyways. Might as well do it with us. So go to play.runyourpool.com/DNVR or scan the QR code on the screen. It'll take you right there. It's going to be a blast. Let's have everyone in on this.
Let's do it.
I'm in.
What else should we do?
This is not what we're doing, but you should also go over to Game Time if you want to go watch the tournament at Ball Arena.
Yeah. How did I not know that was a thing until yesterday?
I had no idea until last week.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, someone at the bar was like, "Oh, I wonder if like any of those teams that are coming to visit like are going to be looking for a place to watch the game afterwards." And I was like, "What?
Yeah.
The tournament is in Denver this year?
Yeah. I totally missed it.
Yeah.
I want to
It is
go. I've
weird.
never been to tournament games in Denver.
It's surprisingly expensive to get in.
Oh,
Really?
they're really expensive. Yeah.
Wait,
But
yeah.
was the
There's
last
no way it's going to be full.
Exactly.
was the last time it was in Denver when Kenneth Fareed was here?
No,
thought there was
there
one
was one
time
more time?
since
Okay.
then, and there was another like legendary upset.
Huh.
Because I think Morehead State was just a 12-5 upset, but it was like a crazy game.
Okay.
And then last time around, I think there was an even bigger upset, like a 14-3.
Love it. Love it.
So that's actually a perfect reason to wait and get your tickets off Game Time if they're expensive.
Yeah.
True.
Because I just know there's not going to be 20,000 people in there.
No, not for the first. Not when people probably just won't watch on TV anyway.
Man, I hope so. I hope it is because I want more of these games here. And if it's sold out, then you got to imagine that it's going to make
It's
it a
just
little
not
more
ever
enticing
sold
to
out
come.
anywhere in
If
the
it was
first
like
round.
the Elite Eight or something, that's
So
when I get
it's,
excited. It's first and second round.
First and second round. Okay.
That's where it's like, yeah. I just thought you could probably get in for like Nuggets prices.
Having
Right.
gone to these stadiums for these just for Buffs games,
Yeah.
the atmosphere in these places is so unique and so awesome. Like even if it's not full, you just have like I specifically remember I went to CU UConn. They like made a late comeback and didn't get the win. But then like right after, like Kansas was playing Austin P. And there were just like 1,000 Austin P fans there, like going crazy, and they kept it close for like the first half. And it was just like such a unique and cool atmosphere. So
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also we used to drive over to like Spokane when there were games there,
go.
and like St. John's was there with like the bird that like doesn't stop flapping for the entire game.
Didn't
You
know
know,
about that.
yeah, like the mascot isn't allowed to stop flapping his arms. It's pretty crazy.
That's whack.
Yeah, apparently,
like-
yeah.
Like PETA should step in.
I think that's kind of out of their range.
Do we have a PETA
Admiral
read now?
Schofield played. Remember Admiral Schofield? He was
Yes.
Tennessee.
Yes.
So Tennessee was there. I can't really remember the details,
Anyways.
honestly. Yeah,
I
Game
think
time's
that
the spot.
I think the tickets are like Stanley Cup Finals price.
Shut the.
Well, maybe not as much, but they're really expensive. More expensive
They'll
than
go
Broncos
down.
tickets.
They'll go down for sure.
Also, go on over to Shady Rays. Get yourself some sunglasses. I actually wore mine today. Today was kind of a tough call of a day.
Not needed.
Yeah.
One of the few days in Colorado where you don't need it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I still like they were in my car, and I got my car. And I was like,
Zach, you're
we'll try it with them, try it without them.
You can get in on Game Time right now for $137.
All session
you got
pass
to,
is $315.
You got to take
But
that
yeah.
up with Allie. Allie says $421 for the top.
What are you
That's
guys looking
that's
at?
for the whole session or for the whole.
Oh.
She
yeah.
also has Game Time has better prices.
So they.
all session is
I assume
$420.
she's looking at Game Time. No.
I would
Just buy tickets to the first session, go hide in the bathroom, put your feet on the stall.
So they. I just assume that that's what happens. I assume that you can just do
no,
that.
there's a long break in between, if I remember.
and
Yeah.
they kick you out.
They would try.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do
'Cause
try.
there's like 2 games in the morning, 2 games at night, and then 1 game with the winners. No. It's like a little tiny tournament with the winners on Sunday. I don't freaking know. Shady Rays. Yeah, so like I was saying, I tried it without them, tried it with them, decided that I was going with them just because, I don't know, it's just so gentle on your eyes. And I felt like I wasn't missing anything.
Like a hug for your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's kind of fair. I'm trying to imagine it. It was pretty cool though that even when it's kind of dim today, the sunglasses still made me feel better. And it's a whole bunch of good stuff from Shady Rays. They've got polarized sunglasses. They're affordable prices, even though it's a world-class product that's just as good as any of the expensive pairs. They're very durable. They're so durable, actually, that if you break them or if you lose them, they will give you replacements for free. And if you go over to the Park Meadows Mall or just go online, you can use the code DNVR. You can get 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people.
Okay. There's another running back that is being connected. Oh
really
my
quick.
goodness.
We are almost rated 5 stars by 200,000 people, but it's closer to like
Oh.
2,000. We're racing
Oh.
Spotify versus Apple. Apple has a 100 review lead on Spotify, 850 to 750. We're gonna see if Spotify can catch them. Apple users, don't let them catch you.
Yeah, and Ryan's a believer in the underdog. He likes that 12-5 upset.
Spotify's been on just a crazy run right now.
And we would really appreciate it. Even if you're watching on YouTube right now and you've hit us with the thumbs up and you subscribe to the YouTube channel, if you wouldn't just also mind subscribing to the podcast. It really does help us, and they're all free to do.
Absolutely.
And easy, so we really appreciate that. Okay, when I say the name Kareem Hunt, what do you think?
That video is playing in my head.
Yeah,
Okay, so
exactly.
is that's part of who Kareem Hunt is when you sign him? Is that too much of, the off the field where you say, no, don't? Because you know what? Matthew Berry put this out yesterday, and I'll read exactly what he said. So I relayed that out there, and there are a lot of people where, Ryan, that's the first thing that comes to their mind and say, no. In fact, if the Broncos sign him, I'm done being a Broncos fan. And I saw a lot of those. And so that is something where I don't think you can just say, put that aside. So I think it is fair that that's the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would rather them not, I guess, under
fair.
those circumstances. Obviously, what he did is unacceptable. And I think you can be one of two organizations. You can be the we believe in second chances organization, or you can be the we'd rather bring in players that don't have a history of hitting women on their record.
Right.
Yep. And it is, all these things are just so complicated, and they're all so unique, and I think that part can kind of get forgotten. Like, obviously, you have some that are, Ray Rice on video just punching somebody. Like, you can't do that. You have some where it's Alvin Kamara, where it's him and a group of friends who are, like, punching and kicking and beating up a guy who's already down.
Is that on video?
It is on video.
It is?
Wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I haven't either, yeah.
But again, like, how does it change when it's a man and not a woman? And so you have those sorts of questions that you grapple with there. And with Kareem Hunt, again, that's just another strange situation that I would suggest that you go read. Just kind of, ESPN did some really deep reporting into everything that happened and kind of the argument that happened before with the girls who said, like, we're mad that we can't stay at your place, and they start screaming whatever, and then things happen after that. Watch the video. I mean, they're all just such unique incidents that the Broncos have to draw their line somewhere. And sometimes it's really easy to say this is one side of the line or the other. We'll see what they think of this one and whether this being 5 years later matters, but I don't know. If they say it's okay, then that's their decision. If they say it's not, then it's easy to see why.
It's true that there's nuance and layers to all of this stuff, and you, as an organization, you just have to decide where you draw the line. I will say this, because of how long it's been since it happened, I've seen a lot of people be like, I think it was actually in your mentions I was reading, like, didn't he punch it? Didn't he knock out his girlfriend or something? And it's like, no, that's not what happened. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, again, like what I said, what he did was not acceptable. And the Broncos have to determine if that is unacceptable to them to bring in a player who was on camera kicking a girl.
And I guess at this point, might as well say what happened. He's getting held back by a bunch of guys. He runs into one of the guys. He kind of dominoes into the girl, who slams down, hits the wall, whatever. And then when she tries to get up, he kicks her legs out from under her. And so, honestly, the biggest question I have when I come away from that is just, what would have happened if they weren't holding him back? That's kind of the big thing. And again, like, these are all the things that the Broncos go through and they decide. And I don't know. I feel like we've covered this part. Now, what is he as a football player? And it's surprisingly not good.
And so here's what Matthew Berry said about it right after talking about Javonte Williams' injury and how the Broncos are nervous about it. He said, "Don't be surprised if the Broncos wind up with Kareem Hunt when all is said and done. Mike Boone is likely gone, but Latavius Murray is expected to be back and be in the Mark Ingram role for Sean Payton. But Hunt, who is not expected to be back in Cleveland, is said to be a target for Denver. If Hunt winds up in Denver, my source said, you'll know Javonte Williams' injury is a lot worse than they are letting on." And that's kind of something we've talked about. The move the Broncos make at running back, if they re-sign Latavius Murray and get a 6th-round pick, that's probably good news. That's the Broncos speaking with their actions, how they feel about Javonte Williams' injury, and it would make me feel a lot better about it. If they go out and they sign Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt, Saquon Barkley, one of these big-name running backs, and it's like, well, that's really not good news. And one of those names could potentially be Kareem Hunt. And Henry, you talked about him on the football field. I mean, he was a star when he was with Kansas City. Then
he had that 1 year.
He has that. He gets cut. The Browns pick him up. And for a couple of years, he and Nick Chubb were the backfield tandem in the NFL. But I think he fell off a little last year.
Yeah, it's complicated. And you even throw Miles Sanders in there. Miles Sanders is in the Matthew Berry article. And what he says is, yeah, the Eagles want to have a bell cow back. They just didn't think he was good enough. And there's a reason he's not on the field on third down. So I personally, I'm not a huge Miles Sanders fan. Back to Kareem Hunt, though. Yeah, 3.8 yards per carry. That's not good. He also, I think, may have faced the most loaded boxes in the NFL last year. And so that skews numbers. Also, he hasn't really done anything in these past few years that separates him, that makes you say he's anything more than he can be a key part of a rotation. There's nothing in there that says he's a stud. And on top of that, he's missed half of 2 of the last 4 seasons because of injuries. And so to me, he's kind of in that in-between range. I think he's projected somewhere around $7.5-8 million a year.
Wow.
And if that's the case, it's a lot like the Melvin Gordon contract a few years ago. And I think Melvin Gordon a few years ago was at least every bit as good as Kareem Hunt has been these last few years. And
what do Kareem Hunt's fumble numbers look like?
Fumbles, only has 1 this year. Yeah. But I mean, he's just a rotational back. He's number 2 to Nick Chubb, and I think that because he doesn't play all that much, you remember some things more than others.
If he, I think there's probably, in terms of a football player, a right price for Kareem Hunt. $8 million for
too
under
much.
4 yards per carry last year. And like you said, there's nuances to everything on and off the field. Way too much. Yeah, that would be concerning, especially in a loaded running back free agent class. We're an hour and a half from finding out if Saquon Barkley's going to hit the market or not. That would just be way too much.
My thing is, if you're going $8 million on Kareem Hunt, why wouldn't you go 12.5 on Saquon Barkley?
Say 15, because he's not accepting 13 from the Giants.
Okay, then just trade for Derrick Henry.
There we go. I'm right with you.
And the reason,
1 for
though,
10.
would be just because the length of the contract. You get tied up longer with if you go for the Saquon, or I guess Josh Jacobs is off the market, so Saquon's kind of the only top tier back left.
Yep.
But that would be why, because you can get out of it quickly.
Man, at the right price, I still think you pair him with a Latavius and obviously a 5th round pick maybe as well. But man,
I would say my ceiling on Kareem Hunt would be $5 million.
I agree.
And that's your
and
perfect,
he's probably getting more.
From a football standpoint, your perfect in between, right? We don't need to fully commit to a long-term running back because we have Javonte and we think he's going to be healthy, but we don't want to rush Javonte back, so we need a guy who we can trust with the ball early in the season. Boom, $5 million for Kareem Hunt. Kind of a nice bridge player.
Yeah, it would be. But man, that price, I don't like it. And speaking of positional players on the Broncos, skill players, as some people call them, a big name was thrown out by Matthew Berry as potentially on the trade block, or the Broncos are shopping, and that is Courtland Sutton. Here's what Matthew Berry said. I'm told the Broncos are quietly shopping Courtland Sutton, not actively pushing him, but definitely trying to see if there's a trade market for him, and if they get a decent offer, would move him.
How do you quietly shop someone? Just I'm curious what this looks like.
I do think that there's a difference here, because I think there's a trade block where it's like,
we're trading.
World, he's available. Come get him. And when you're on the trade block, I think your value comes down because you really want to actually get rid of the guy. I think quietly shopping means you're going to teams who you think have wide receivers. You say, you interested in him? We're not fully necessarily going to trade him, but I do think there's a little bit of a difference there where the Broncos, and kind of as Matthew Berry says, they're not just going to give him away, but at the right price, they'd move him.
Yeah, it's just funny to me because quietly shopping, like, you're still making calls to teams and saying, hey, well, you want Courtland Sutton? What would you want for him? To me, that is... What's the second phrase he used? Actively
He said
Quietly shopping, not
actively pushing him.
I don't think there's a big difference between those.
Well, I
I
mean,
do
it's
think
like-
there is like he's demanded a trade, we're out on him, we're just trying to move on, we'll take whatever we can get. But I think actively pushing and quietly shopping are at the very least very close cousins.
Should we role
That's
play
fair.
it? Role play it. I'll tell you how it is. You're the Houston's GM.
Okay.
And so I say, hey, how's it going? Like, what's up, man?
Hey, it's good. How are you?
Oh, not bad. We're just kind of like trying to figure things out. Brandon Cooks, he actually played for Payton back in the day. Just curious, you getting any offers on him?
Yeah, we're getting some calls for sure.
Interesting. We're probably set. We're just kind of feeling things out. Just like out of curiosity though, like if Courtland Sutton was out there, what do you think he'd be worth?
That's a good question. Just so you know, I have to run any and all decisions in the organization by our weird pastor who kind of makes all the decisions here.
I forgot about that.
He's been fired. Got it.
for you.
He's fired? Oh, sweet. Okay.
Oh, big day for you. Hey, I want to throw a discount out there. Now just
Oh, cool. All right, cool. I guess I get to make this call myself. Well, I would say Courtland Sutton's worth a third.
interesting. We're happy with what we got. We're just, I don't know. So much is changing. We're just curious what's out there.
This is so awkward.
Yeah, I did a bad job. George Payton probably did it better. Wow, thank you.
I think
nobody
if you-
ever says that.
That would be very, very, very quietly shopping.
It was I thought it was a little heavy-handed.
No.
I thought it was like you hang out, you go to dinner. It's like, yeah, you try to move anybody. It's like, we're just kind of curious.
I think that's the thing, though, is you're definitely not calling teams and asking it that way.
Yeah.
But if you're like, hey, you have any interest in Courtland Sutton? They're like, yeah, I mean, we'd be interested for a third. You're like,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, we'll let you
Cool.
know.
Yeah.
We're probably set with what we got, but if Hopkins comes free or there's a good deal, then maybe we'll circle back.
What is Courtland Sutton's value?
That's
what,
a tough
what
part.
would be something where the Broncos aren't just giving him away, but that they're getting a quote decent offer where they would move him? And there's one more thing that we need to throw in this equation. Courtland Sutton's cap hit right around $17-18 million for this season. Dead cap though, $25 million.
So it makes,
If you cut
doesn't
him.
really make any
If you cut him, but what is
Yep.
it with the trade?
You would save $6.8 million if you trade him.
So the cap hit would be 18.2 if you keep him, and if you trade him, then you're freeing up. Then you'd have about 11 million in dead cap. Is that right?
Yep. So it's 6.8, and because you're keeping that, or I guess that 11, you wind up so if the Broncos keep him, cap hits of 18.2, 17.3, 17.8. Those are the next 3 years. But if they trade him, the new team would take on cap hits of 14, 13, 13.5, and so none. The 2023 salary is guaranteed, which, I mean, you'd be keeping him that at that point anyway. So 14, 13, 13.5, and you can cut him after the first season or at any point thereafter for free.
But from a Broncos perspective, about $11 million in debt, and you free up some this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So take
think
that
his-
into consideration as well.
I think his peak value is a second round pick, which is essentially 1-for-1 what you got him for in the first place. But obviously, then you paid him a lot of money. I think end up taking a net L if you trade Courtland Sutton for a second round pick.
Oh, a net L. You get a player, they play for you for 4 years, and then you trade him for what you got him for. I think that's a net dub.
Okay. I think if you traded him at his peak value, you could have gotten more.
That's a whole different regime,
Yeah.
though. That's 3 years ago.
Fair enough.
I don't think you'd be able to get a second.
And that's what I was going to say, is that's his, if for whatever reason there was a team that was just in love with him or was desperate for a big wide receiver, you could maybe get a second for him. But the more that I think about it and the more that he has not gotten near his best play since the knee injury, which is unfortunate, but it's the facts, tells me you're getting a third for him, and you'd probably be happy with it.
Are you getting a third for him?
I think that's probably right about where it is. I think that's probably where it is. Just because, again, that's a good value for whatever team is picking him up. 14, 13, 13 and a half. If Courtland were to hit the open market, I think he's probably getting 16, 17 still, just because of the way that market goes. So I think because that's a plus value, because I guess he's 30 in that last season, so it's not necessarily his prime.
So Henry,
I'd take third more likely than fourth.
would you do it for a third?
No, I mean the key would be if DeAndre Hopkins is cheap. If you can say, well, now we're only blowing another $8 million, then we would be.
Would DeAndre Hopkins be cheap though?
Probably not. But again, like he's what 30, 31.
But you're gonna have to trade for him.
Exactly. So if you can trade a third with the fourth that you just got, and say you're probably taking on another $8 million cap hit, then that would be tempting.
What about, would you do Courtland Sutton and a third for DeAndre Hopkins?
Absolutely.
I would do it, but that's not why you move Courtland. It's not to upgrade at receiver. What you're doing is you're doing it to get a third-round pick, to be able to maybe package 2 third-round picks that you have, to move into the second to get a tackle, or to then just have 3 picks in the third. And then on top of it, you're also opening up $6 million to be able to spend on the line. I don't think that you move Courtland in order to upgrade that position. I think you're doing it to get resources to be able to build the offensive line.
I think you'd be doing it to upgrade. I think it'd be for clarity, because I don't think you can go into next season with just Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, Kendall Hinton, KJ Hamler.
Then you're using a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick. Or
you get Michael Thomas, probably.
Yeah, I don't think you're doing a big investment, because when we look at this wide receiver room right now, one of the things that we kind of say is they have a lot invested in that wide receiver room. $10 million on a receiver, $15 million on a receiver, and a former first-round pick who you're probably going to be trading for. That's a lot invested. Now you want to even up that investment, and in fact, I just keep going back to what Chris Sims said. Going to get a lot of effort, a lot of big efforts in here on that offensive line. You don't do that by then spending even more resources at the skill position. So me personally, I would do it. A third for Courtland Sutton. You open up $6 million. That can pay for a center or a guard right there. And then you have a third-round pick to use on someone else. And I just think that it's also kind of just shaking up that group. That group kind of needs a little twist up, a little shaking around. So I think that's probably a realistic offer.
And I would disagree with that first point, though. Like, when I look at the receivers room, I don't say, oh, they have a lot invested in it. I guess maybe I get there eventually. What I would say is that they're not good enough. They don't have the juice. They haven't been productive. You need to find a way to fix that room.
Yeah, I am somewhat in between. And the big thing for me is, like, I think that Jerry Jeudy is your alpha in that room. I don't think you're... Yeah. I no longer feel as though you need to go get your number 1 wide receiver. I think what you need to do is commit to Jerry Jeudy as your number 1 wide receiver, and he will give you number 1 production. With Court, I think I lean more towards Zac in what I think the Broncos would be doing. Not necessarily what I would be doing, but what I think they would be doing is saying, okay, we're going to use Tim Patrick as our in their eyes, a 1-for-1 replacement for Courtland. We're going to recoup some value on Courtland. We're going to save a little bit of money, and we're going to invest that, return in the rest of the roster, and then go get a 30-plus-year-old receiver to come in and fill out the room.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably spending that all $6 million to get a guy you're comfortable with as a number 3, though.
Potentially.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You still get the third.
What do you think Courtland Sutton is this year? A lot of people believe that Courtland Sutton's probably the 3rd best receiver on the team. Now, there's probably a slim margin with how a lot of people view it between first and third, but there's probably a lot of people that think he's the 3rd best receiver. So if you're essentially swapping Courtland out for another 3rd receiver and you're picking up a 3rd in the process, isn't that a net positive at the end of the day?
I mean, if you look at it that way, I still think they have the opportunity to clear up enough space. And so I don't think there's a need to get rid of a talented player, a player who, I talk about how you need more juice on the offense. I don't think you can justify getting rid of some of that unless you do go say like, we'll go get Saquon, we'll go get somebody to replace that, especially when you can go into next offseason and say, okay, now we have all 3 of Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Courtland Sutton. We can save $13 million moving on from Jerry. We can save $11 million moving on from Tim Patrick. We can save $10 million moving on to Courtland Sutton. I just think next year is the easier point to kind of make a decision than right now is.
You just get a third in return. But really quick, speaking of
True.
money, I don't know what happened from last week to this week, but according to SpotRack, the Broncos have $9 million in cap space, which is now 17th in the NFL. So again, we talk about, and we're going to talk about tomorrow, how they can open up money, but it's not like the Broncos are just, are in as good of a position, I should say, as we thought they were. They're not that top 12 anymore. And according to Over the Cap, I believe they have $8 million in cap space. Again, they can open a lot of money up, but there's other teams that have 90, 80, 70, 60 million dollars in cap space.
Yeah.
And those will be the teams that spend on Saquon Barkley and
Dre'Mont Jones.
Dre'Mont Jones, yeah.
And speaking of Dre'Mont, our last piece to get to in this kind of rumorville, which actually didn't come from Matthew Berry, is about Dre'Mont Jones, and it is not good news for the Broncos potentially being able to get him back. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Use that promo code DNVR when you sign up, and if you bet $5, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's what you do. Use that promo code DNVR at DraftKings Sportsbook, and you're going to get hooked up with $200 in bonus bets instantly. And one of the things I love about DraftKings Sportsbook, they get in the door. They get you in the door with that deal, but then they keep you around. I don't use any other sportsbook because DraftKings is just constantly offering profit boosts. They're constantly giving away free bets. They're constantly just hooking users up that are using the app. It's not like it's just a one and done. They get you in and then they move on. No, they're constantly giving you things to keep you involved. And I got to say, March Madness is going to be a blast with DraftKings Sportsbook. So check them out. Use that promo code DNVR. And if you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets, place your Jets bets now because Jets contingency is flying out. Probably Nathaniel Hackett on that plane to California to speak with Aaron Rodgers right now. So now's the time to get in on the Jets if you like Aaron Rodgers. Use that promo code DNVR at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
How will you feel if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets and succeeds in the Nathaniel Hackett offense?
Oh, boy, it's going to be a punch in the gut for sure.
I think I'll just be mad at Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
At Aaron, huh?
Yep.
Not the Packers?
No, the Packers obviously want to hold on to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
But this year, they're like, get away, bud.
I'll be mad at Aaron because he could have forced his way to Denver to be with Nathaniel Hackett. And instead, he said he just wanted to chase the bag, which can't blame him for that. But personally, that's the person I'll be mad at is Aaron Rodgers.
That's fair. Here's a question for you. Who do you take in a game this year? And this game's actually happening. Robert Saleh as the head coach, Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator, and Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback coming into Denver to play Sean Payton as the head coach / offensive coordinator and Russell Wilson. Right now, who would you take to win the game?
I mean, you obviously have to consider all of the other pieces on the field.
Those are the biggest.
Yes.
though.
They're the biggest.
But sure, you can consider the other pieces too.
We don't know when the game is yet.
No, correct.
Um,
To me, right now, it's easy. Unfortunately.
Aaron Rodgers was also
he was
bad
terrible.
last year.
Like, wasn't he worse
Did you
than
guys-
Russell?
Oh my gosh! Compare the terriblenesses of both of them, and you're gonna see how one was on a completely other level.
Let's see.
Give me Rodgers.
26
stats last
touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 64.6 completion, 36.95.
Not even close.
No.
I'll still take the Broncos.
And you're right.
I'll take the Broncos.
And you're right. Aaron Rodgers, guys.
Better coaching.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh is a pretty good coach. What he was able
Based
to
on
do. What he was able to do last year with Zach Wilson.
Nothing.
Didn't they go 9-8? Have a winning record? I'd say that's pretty damn impressive. The defense on the Jets is really good. I mean, I think it's probably pretty close, but yeah, I would like the Jets in that. Now, long term, obviously different, but Russell Wilson has a chance to turn around and be better for longer. So I'm not saying long term, but just this year. And also continuity. Crazy enough that the Jets would have more continuity with their quarterback and coach than the Broncos would.
I'll take a Super Bowl winning head coach who's one of the best offensive minds of all time rather than a guy who went 9-8.
That's fair.
I just don't even care
The quarterback
about Aaron
position
Rodgers.
is what really matters the most.
It does.
I think how I feel about Aaron Rodgers now is how people felt for the most part last year, I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just at the point where it's like, I hear that name, I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here.
Welcome to my club. I've been there this whole time.
How do you guys feel?
So it pains me to say that.
Yeah.
Real quick on this. How do you guys feel about the darkness retreat? Did you guys know he left early?
No, he left late.
No, he left early.
Oh, you mean he left the retreat early?
Yes.
Because he went there later than people expected him to.
Yes, but he said he was going to stay for 4 days. He only stayed for 2.
Wow. Yeah, you got to stick to your guns, man.
Yeah. I feel like you shouldn't announce how many days you're going.
It's true if you're not going to hold up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it seems like you chickened out.
I think he did.
So that's one of those things where it's just like, I could not care any less about Aaron Rodgers' darkness retreat.
Wait, but let me ask you this. Does it sound good? Like, does that sound like an enjoyable thing to you? Because I've been seeing this take everywhere, which is like, mostly people with kids are like, wow, being in complete darkness and silence for 4 days sounds incredible. To me, I can't remember if if he brought his phone. If I had my phone, I think I would survive 1 day before I went insane.
You can't be in a darkness retreat with your phone.
So then
there's no chance.
I can
It
go
has a
one
light.
I can go 1 day before I think I start to go crazy.
That sounds awful.
wow.
It sounds miserable. What
about drugs? Is he doing drugs?
He's
course
of course
doing
doing
drugs.
them. But
That changes the equation for sure.
this is solitary confinement without any light, and solitary confinement is like one of the biggest punishments that a person in our country can get, and he is voluntarily doing it without light.
But they don't give you mushrooms in solitary confinement.
One step away from being rich and poor, man. That's all it is.
I get people who feel like they need to get away. I just don't have that feeling.
Southwest
Like
Airlines.
my life is just fine. Like I'm happy to go home and write and I'll play some Xbox. Like I
good
don't
life.
I'm not at a point where it's like, oh my God, I just need 3 days to myself. Like no,
You want
that's
clarity. He's looking for clarity.
I have plenty of clarity.
But
What is
also,
unclear?
like 3 days to yourself is different if you're on a beach sipping, some cocktails than it is sitting in a room that's pitch black.
Yeah, it sounds terrible to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds terrible. And you're a guy that likes black.
I do. Just
Yeah.
not
It's not like
on my
darkness black.
eyeballs.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really true. Before we go any further, want to tell us about Backus and Shaker?
Was that where you're starting to go with that?
No.
Because it was how would you feel if Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets?
Oh.
That felt
But
like
how
a
is
lead
that?
in.
Aaron Rodgers hurt me, so now I'm going to call back and
I was sure that's where you were going with that.
Wow.
Like 5 minutes ago. Okay, yeah, Backus and Shanker.
Better combo than Rodgers and Hackett.
Backus and Shaker.
Wow.
Yeah,
Backus and,
definitely.
yes, absolutely. Backus and Shanker is really awesome. If something horrible has happened to you or a loved one, then make sure you give them a call as long as it wasn't your fault. Because what they do is help you get money from the people who either hit you with a car or an employer who put an oil slick on the ground and you stepped in that and slid. And the
slick.
I think it just slick because there's oil.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oil slick. I know it's a phrase. Okay,
Anyways.
puts a banana peel on the ground.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
employer's like, this will be funny. Puts a banana peel on the ground. You slip on it. You get your money from that employer or from the person who hit you with their car or their truck or their motorcycle or just about anything else. Backus and Shankers won over $1 billion for Coloradans, and they won't charge you unless they win your case. And they won't charge you at all until after the case is over and they've won it. So you can call 222-2222 to get a free consultation, and they'll tell you whether or not you have a case, whether they'll take your case. Then you go through the whole process. When you win, you pay them their portion of the proceeds. But that's after you've gotten all your money, so there's really nothing wrong with it. 222-2222 to set up your free consultation.
Friend of the program,
Oh, no.
Melvin Gordon?
Andrew Albert Breer. Yesterday said Dre'Mont Jones, his value, if he were to be franchise tagged, right around 19, 20 million, how we've talked about that would be the price. The Broncos are not going to franchise tag Dre'Mont Jones. That will be official in 1 hour from right now. But he said Dre'Mont Jones' value on the open market isn't going to be too shy of that. Dre'Mont, go get the bag, my friend.
Yep.
And it's not going to be from Denver, but I mean, I don't blame him. And boy, did he play his cards right. this whole process. He probably could have signed with the Broncos before last year for $8 million. Probably could have signed midway through this season for $13 million. And he waited, and did he play it right? If he gets 16, 17, 18 million, 19, 20 million dollars, I'm going to be happy for him. But it better not be from the Broncos, because that would just be, you're paying elite money to a guy that has flashed elite, but isn't elite. What do you guys think about that price tag?
If you got money to blow, why not? Like, you got to take some gambles if you want to get good players. Because, you're the Bears. If you just give the same competitive offer to Orlando Brown that 5 other teams are going to give, nobody's picking the Bears. Nobody wants to go with the Bears. So what do? You give that top of the market
Coming
money.
From a Justin Fields hater, that would make sense.
That guy, yeah.
Chicago's a pretty dope city.
Did you
but
know?
in the
Great
winter,
tradition,
pretty
great
cold.
fans.
Pretty cold.
It is cold.
Least efficient passer in the NFL. But so you say, like, well, we can go get Dre'Mont Jones. We give him a couple $1 million more than anybody else. He'll come here, he'll take the money, and there's a real chance that he winds up being one of the best interior pass rushers in the NFL. He has like the most pressures for the Broncos over the last 4 seasons, led the Broncos in pressures last year. Like, he is a good player, and there's a chance that he's going to be a really, really, really great player. But that gamble is just meant for teams who can say, you know what, we can spend the extra $4 million and because we have $100 million to play with.
Really quick, can you pull up that tweet that you and I talked about pulling up many weeks ago? I'd appreciate that. Ryan, do you have a take?
What is this?
Me and Zach talk a lot.
My take on what again?
Dre'Mont Jones getting $20 million.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, if you're not afraid of getting hurt, you should always hit the open market. Mm-hmm. You're just always going to get more money on the open market than you are not hitting the open market, as long as you stay healthy and continue to produce. And so he bet on himself. He's going to win. He never had any, like, all right, I don't want to say something incendiary here, but I don't think he has any, like, I don't want to say loyalty, but there's nothing tying him to Denver other than the fact that they drafted him.
Yep.
I don't think he, like, has a specific love for the Broncos or anything like that. And that's the stuff that happens when you don't win.
Exactly.
The Broncos were winning division titles and competing for championships. Then maybe players do say, oh, yeah, I'll take a little bit less money to keep chasing the dream here. But he doesn't have that, so go secure the bag.
And one more thing with Dre'Mont really quick is what scares me the most is how much his productivity dropped off when Bradley Chubb left.
True.
I understand that you're going to be better when you're playing against or when you're playing with really good players, specifically
Malik Jackson 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically at complementary positions. But you also, as a talent evaluator, you have to determine, okay, is Dre'Mont going to be next to a really good edge rusher in Chicago, in wherever he goes? If so, then maybe it is worth the money to pair those guys up. If not, then what are you going to get from that $20 million investment? So, Henry, I agree with you. It makes sense for a team that has $100 million in cap space. And speaking of the Bears, I just thought of my friend Henry when I saw this tweet a little bit. Can we make it a little bigger? Yeah, here. Justin Fields, and these are stats against playoff teams last year. 62.6% completion.
Not good.
1,500 total yards, 217 yards per game, 13-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and 103.4 passer rating. I thought you said the least efficient passer. This is against the best teams, Henry.
He is the least efficient passer. Like it's tangible. You go look.
103.4 passes. Sign me up for that, baby.
Yeah, sure, whatever. The guy is not a good passer. I don't have my anti-Justin Fields stats right here, but that's
There
not
definitely
true.
are.
13
there definitely are.
against playoff
I'm
teams.
pro-
What else do you want?
Yeah, I'm pro Justin Fields, and this I'm in between you two on this conversation.
What don't you? By the way, I don't watch enough Justin Fields to truly know, but those stats when I saw him, I'm like, okay, against the best competition he played, 13 touchdowns to 1 pick.
I'll say this. Of anyone I've watched, I see Justin Fields as the most likely to be the next Josh Allen, meaning doesn't necessarily blow you away with the numbers in the first 2 years, but shows flashes and then just bursts onto the scene.
That's apparently what the Bears are counting on, because it does seem like they're going to hold on to that.
I mean,
or onto Fields and trade the number 1 pick.
Also,
trading Justin Fields for a 5'9" quarterback.
Shut up. He's 5'10".
5'10" quarterback would be a crazy gamble. I'm not saying it wouldn't work out, but it would just be a crazy gamble.
Ryan.
To trade Justin Fields and get an Alabama quarterback.
No, yeah,
that's what you do. You trade Fields. Draft.
No, but Ryan, you are so crazy. You loved Kyler Murray going number 1 overall.
Yes.
Kyler Murray is the exact same size as Bryce Young.
Yes.
You learned your lesson?
No, Justin Fields is good. So, and he has all the things. He's fast, just like Bryce Young. He has a cannon of an arm, and he happens to be like 6'3" or 6'4".
Oh my gosh.
So you would be going
Bryce Young is such a better passer.
in college.
Yeah, in college and yeah.
Kyler Murray was a much better passer than Justin Fields too. It just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between Kyler and Bryce, though, in my opinion.
I think it's a negative for Bryce.
No, definitely not.
I think Kyler has more arm talent.
And that's just where you and I disagree about what's the most important thing.
What's the most important thing?
In terms of a quarterback. I don't think arm talent is the most important thing. I think it's about the mental, and I think that's what Bryce absolutely has.
I'm not anti-Bryce Young by any means. All I'm saying is
Sounds like it.
Trading Justin Fields to draft Bryce Young would be a crazy gamble.
Man, it's a gamble that I would take, but the Bears aren't going to take it. But really quick, speaking of these college quarterbacks, do you now think that teams are going to be blown away by the underwear Olympics that C.J. Stroud had, and now he's going to be the first quarterback taken?
No way. And let me just say this. I feel like we're doing this weird thing where we're saying Kyler went number 1 overall, and he was the same exact size as Bryce Young, but we're not realizing that Kyler has struggled. Like it's not a positive comp for Bryce Young to comp him to
No,
Kyler.
it's not. But what I'm saying is you liked Kyler Murray at that size, but now you're holding Bryce Young's size against him when you didn't do that. Yes, you are. You just said that.
I'm holding it against him only in a trade with Justin Fields. Because I'm saying Justin Fields has all the things that Bryce Young has.
No, he doesn't.
He also has
no,
height.
he does. He does not have all the things that Bryce Young has.
Here's one thing that
The accuracy's
that Justin
very
Fields
different.
has. DVOA, so defense adjusted value over an average player of 34 quarterbacks who threw 200 passes on those passes. Justin Fields the worst, minus 34.5%. Just like value against average, a third is cut off. Second worst, Matt Ryan, minus 22.5. Baker, minus 21.3. Another fun one, yards above replacement. So you take those same passes, where do you wind up? 563 yards behind an average passer. Next worst.
Does any of this bring into what he does with his legs?
No.
These are just the passing stats.
Well, what is this, 1998?
Did you know that I think actually by DVOA, rushing.
You probably don't want to bring up Justin Fields' rushing stats. They're going to be really
Justin
good.
Fields among quarterbacks with at least 8 rushes is 12th. Right behind Ryan Tannehill, right behind Russell Wilson. And the reason why is because he fumbled 8 times, which is much more than anybody else.
Not good.
Speaking of quarterbacks, the Ravens
Josh Allen
officially placed the non-exclusive franchise tag.
So you can get him for 2 firsts.
Lamar Jackson. Yep.
That's
everyone should do that.
I think that is a very stupid move by the Ravens. You place the exclusive on him, then you trade him for 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, Justin Fields also has no receivers.
True. Oh yeah, there's all that stuff. Like he could turn it around. But
DeAndre Hopkins to the Bears.
They gotta do
Why
something.
would they not do that?
It sucks that they tried to do the Claypool thing, and I thought that was going to be a good move for them, and he did nothing.
A second-round pick, a top second-round pick.
Yeah.
The reason the Ravens would do this, by the way, just because they want this to end and they want a contract with Lamar. And so I think it might have even been Matthew Berry who wrote it this way, which is basically...
Matthew Berry's on a heater.
Yeah. He was the story of the day. But basically now Lamar gets to go talk to every team that he wants, negotiate contracts with any team that he wants, and the Ravens get to sit there and be like, oh my God, thank goodness we don't have to be the ones doing the negotiations. And then they can swoop in at the end and just say, nope, we'll take that one.
And match it.
Exactly. Because
That's all
they
have to do.
Exactly. Because Yeah. And so if it is something crazy, if it is $60 million a year for 8 years and it's fully guaranteed, then they could be like,
bye.
sure, we'll take the 2 first. But what they think is this guy's demanding a fully guaranteed contract. That's not how this is going to work. Let him go negotiate with somebody else instead of us, and we'll just take the deal.
If the Broncos weren't in their situation and they had the picks, I would be telling them absolutely guarantee a 5-year, $250 million deal for him.
5-year, $250. I mean, any team would do that.
And
yeah.
2 firsts.
That would be the highest paid quarterback in the league, all guaranteed.
Not by total, just because it's not 10 years.
Who has a 10-year deal?
Mahomes.
Oh.
Yeah, and so that's why you do it, is because you're like, oh, if this doesn't work out, he gets hurt. Like, you think at least you're getting 2 years, and you might have to eat it for 3, but that's a good deal.
And if you're in there, who is there anyone like? I guess the Browns can't. Steelers have a first-round pick.
Man, that would be so dirty if a team within the division.
Why wouldn't they? Crank up the price on them.
You know
Call
what
their
just
bluff.
you know what just scared me? What if this is what the Raiders do?
That would
that's-
suck.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
going to be 15 teams that send an offer at least.
Yeah, no. And I was thinking of the one team. I was like, obviously Chiefs, no, Chargers, and I was like, oh shit, the Raiders,
What about the Bears? What if the Bears do it?
and then trade Fields.
Trade Fields.
No,
you
Bears,
already have
Bears
number
wouldn't do it
one.
because
They have
you're
the number one
because
pick.
you'd be giving up the number 1 pick.
Oh, that is true.
Unless we
Unless
still
you
don't
trade
know how
down
these
first.
We don't know how these work. Like, could you do next year's first and the year after? I don't know.
I think if you have to, I don't know.
My guess is you have to do like your 2 most recent. I would think, but I don't know.
That is true. That would.
That
Man,
would be
it's
crazy
gonna-
if they
you
traded
do have
down
to
to
give
like
the first.
18 and then did this.
This is going to be the that would be so smart. This is going to be the craziest, maybe the craziest free agent we've seen, because like with Peyton, it was obviously crazy and Denver was connected to it, but there was no picks tied back to it, and there was no team that could then swoop in at the end. This is going to be crazy.
Why am I blanking on the other team in their division? Ravens, Steelers, Browns,
Bengals.
Bengals. Oh, and they couldn't do it either. Dang,
No.
everyone, all their hands are kind of tied. They can't just try to screw over them. I guess technically the Steelers could.
I think the Falcons are going to be massive players in this.
Oh yeah. I mean, that'd be perfect. That'd be
He's
so much
from
fun.
there. They need a quarterback.
With those weapons too.
Yep.
Cordero Patterson,
Yeah.
even like that would.
Yeah.
I might actually put a bet
what's
in.
to stop you from doing 10 years, $500 million, all guaranteed?
Because if
500 million guaranteed.
yeah,
What would stop
because
you?
you'd be paying that contract if he winds up like every single other mobile quarterback.
Yeah, and that's the scariest part with
Yeah.
him, especially with all that guaranteed money, is injuries. And
Yeah.
he
If
you're
has
in
been injured multiple times in the past couple of years, I think.
I realized this came back to bite me last
That's
year.
what. Yep.
But if you're in quarterback purgatory, you just shouldn't care about any of that stuff. You'll be there forever if you don't do something like
And
this.
now here we are in our own form of 8-year port purgatory.
It's true. Oh, it's so depressing that the contract hasn't even kicked in.
I know. It's just contractual purgatory.
Man,
Maybe
and
it gets better.
That's one reason to wait on making some deals, is because you get to see. Obviously, Ryan, I was right there with you. I said do it early. But one place there's no doubt you should wait is game time. Hank already mentioned it. If you want to go to the NCAA March Madness games in Denver, check out our friends over at Game Time. Games start next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Denver. Wait till Wednesday night, check out the prices. Wait till Thursday morning, check out the prices. Make sure to take work off. Are we taking work off next Thursday and Friday?
I would love to. Let's do it.
Maybe we just pod from Ball Arena during these games.
Wow.
Not a bad idea. We could get in pretty cheap using Game Time.
Probably.
So check out our friends over at Game Time. Our super producer here's got it pulled up right here. You get to see the exact seats that you're looking at. So whether you want to go to the games here in Denver, whether you want to go to wherever you live, they've got some games around you. Check out our friends over at Game Time. Of course, Nuggets, Avs, best place to get those tickets. So check them out, Game Time. Click the link in our description in the YouTube and podcast.
They had tickets last night. It was like $55 for the 5th row behind the Raptors bench.
Wow. That's insane.
I was tempted.
Do you guys, have you ever been to an auction or have you been a part of an auction?
I've been to
Like
I've
a
been to some
live
auctions
auction?
in my day.
Yeah.
Never. No.
Really?
See, like, this is how I feel about Lamar. Like, when I'm there, I'll just raise my paddle just for the thrill of it.
Yeah.
Just to be like, I want to raise the price a little bit. Let's see if someone will top me. And that's what I would be like if I was any team in the NFL right now. Like, I'm throwing in an offer just to see if they have the balls to match it.
I bet he leaves because I think that a team's going to do that. I
Also,
think the
like,
Atlanta Falcons are going to do that.
I just like to see the look on Allie's face when like I raise the paddle for something that's like very expensive. Yeah, I'm just like, I want to see what happens here. Gets my blood going.
What does happen at those if you just do that and you don't have the money?
They can't like force you to pay it.
Oh, okay. Well, then why doesn't that happen more often?
That would be messed up. Though,
why would
like,
you do it?
Tell a charity like actually.
Okay, I
I don't
guess
have
I'm
the
not
fried
thinking.
cheese.
I guess I'm not thinking about charity, but you're right. In most of these cases, it is for charity.
Yeah,
More often than not. Unless you're like super rich.
just an auction for auction's
Art.
sake.
Yes.
Really quick, speaking of, I don't even know why I thought of this, but if Derrick Henry is not on the Titans, the Broncos have the 6th best odds of getting
Hey,
him.
we're in the game.
Just to show
Yeah.
that
What's
it's
the
not
leaders?
crazy that we're talking about. Number 1 is the Bills, who I mentioned yesterday. 3-1 if Henry is not on the Titans. Then the Dolphins.
Jeez, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle,
Oh
and
my
Derrick
God,
Henry.
that's so true. The Giants with Tom Brady as quarterback, by the way. Coming out of retirement.
Giants.
He did
Swear
not.
to
He
God,
did.
Tom.
Tom Brady did not do a good job actually trying to put down that report today. You see what he tweeted?
No.
He quote tweeted that report today, right before our show, actually, and said, "If anyone, I'll just pull it up right now." But he said, right here. Anyone who thinks I have time to come back to the NFL has never adopted a 2-month-old kitten for their daughter. And by the way, the kitten is very cute. But like, what a way to just
Thanks for that pertinent update.
what a way to get those rumors just rolling even more.
Is it cuter than Tom in underwear?
Yeah,
weird, you
it's
hear.
it's cuter than Tom in underwear. You hear definitely.
Alibot chiming in, asking why I said her name.
He's gonna spend a lot of money. That's all you need to know on something that's not worth it.
Though I'm
And we
going
don't know
to
what that is.
Threaten to spend a lot of money,
You're gonna.
so someone else spends
okay,
more.
okay,
Wow.
but then they don't, and then you're stuck with it.
Hasn't happened yet.
Okay, so the Giants 5-1. It's obviously if they lose Saquon, or they go on Saquon and Derrick Henry.
Wow.
Don't need Daniel Jones then.
No.
Baltimore Ravens 6-1. Derrick Henry and Lamar.
Lamar's not going to be there.
Oh,
Okay.
shit. Diana Rossini. Falcons will not be pursuing quarterback Lamar Jackson per sources.
Diana,
Why?
I can't believe that.
Why put that out there though?
You just made me look so wrong for the past 7 minutes.
No, like you look wrong. I was just studying. It's plus 4,000 for the Falcons to win the NFC, plus 380 for the NFC South. You had me convinced.
Why would they not be? They're
I
really
don't
in
know.
on who was the guy? Ritter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some teams just way overthink
I know.
this stuff.
They have what, the
Anyways,
second most money too.
I gotta think that they still go after him.
They also have like a crazy number of players under contract, so it's not like they need to go spend all that much more.
It's true. A lot of young guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Derrick Henry Saints 7-1, and the Denver Broncos and Ryan's Los Angeles Chargers are tied at 8-1.
You don't get to do that to me.
Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
That is a better version of what you said yesterday of a good backfield for the Broncos this year is Derrick Henry and Vaughn.
Yeah.
That'd be
Wow.
dangerous.
That would be dangerous.
Maybe
would
just
be.
stay in Tennessee if you're not going to join the Broncos, Derek.
Also, while we're doing the running back thing, I mean, the clock is ticking for Daniel Jones to get a deal done.
It is.
And
If
if
he doesn't get a deal done, though, don't you think Saquon will?
Like long term?
potentially, so,
Like if they're like, okay, if we're not going to have Daniel Jones, we might as well pay Saquon $15 a year.
but the thing is, they'll franchise tag Daniel Jones, and I think if they get the deal done with him, then they'll tag Saquon.
What is the franchise tag for quarterbacks? It's got to be over
think it's
40 million.
I think
Yeah.
it's 29.
Isn't it the average of the top three?
But I think it's like cap hit or something, and so this year it's
Yep.
it's affordable. So or I believe with Lamar
32.
it's 32. Yeah, which is crazy. Like, that's the perfect thing to do. If I'm the Giants, if I'm the Giants,
Geno Smith is getting paid.
yeah. If I'm the
Exactly.
Giants, I pay Saquon and then I franchise tag Daniel Jones, and if he does well again this year, then he's earned his $45 million that he
Sure.
wants.
And that's why if you could just get that deal done, you'd almost just blow a couple million more dollars because you can tag Saquon for $10
Take that
million.
shit off the screen.
If you can tag Saquon for $10 million, that's a steal. There's no long-term commitment, and you're getting him for less than market value.
Yeah, and just a great comment by our guy Zuriel says Ryan's Chargers and Hank's Chiefs, and I'll just throw in my Broncos.
I hate the Chargers. Hank loves the Chiefs. That's the problem.
I don't love the
Leave it up
Chiefs.
and make this into a clip.
Yes,
I hate
we
the
need
Chiefs.
It. Post
I hate
it.
the Chiefs.
I will say this: Justin Herbert fell to me in the Madden draft, so I had no choice but to take him. And he currently has a 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio this season. No one else in the league has better than 3-to-1.
Wow, but that's even worse than what Justin Fields does in real life against playoff teams. 13-1.
That's true.
13-1. Yeah,
Pretty specific.
double that plus
Justin
more.
Fields is nasty in the Madden league.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Hank hates him though. He got him and put him at running back probably.
Messed
Ooh,
up.
he would be a
Yeah.
sick running back,
Yeah,
which we all know. Nobody argues that. He would be a sick running back.
No, he's too tall.
Oh, yeah. Is Derrick Henry too tall?
that's a good point.
He
good point.
he meets the right spot on the tall to thick ratio.
Wow.
Justin feels like Von Miller size, and then we can tell if he's a running back or not.
Yeah, he's
Basically, yeah.
He wouldn't be Vaughn. He'd be a little,
quite.
little too short. It is crazy how they're the same size. And when you see Vaughn up against Derrick Henry, Vaughn is definitely smaller than Derrick.
Yeah.
Should we dive in some comments? We got some
Yeah,
super
we
chats
are
rolling in.
going
I mean,
long
this
today.
has been a wild pod. Let's hit some
Wow.
super chats first.
90 minutes of trash pod.
Yeah, whew, best trash I've ever seen.
Wow.
Alaska Preston, our guy says DNVR Melvin Gordon beef incoming.
I think it might be outgoing by now.
Yeah.
I think it's been handled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maybe when it was sent in. Yep, because that was before the show super chat. At this point, outgoing. For all us, we can only hope.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm here for it.
know.
you definitely are here
Love
for
the
it.
drama.
Howler Brosurf says we should not invest in backup quarterback. Bring back Rippon, and if Russ shows that he's not it,
don't
go
do this.
all in on tanking for Caleb Williams. This also would protect against Russ's injury guarantees if he's not the guy.
Yeah.
You were saying don't go in on this?
Don't. First of all, you're not going to be able to be bad enough to get to Caleb Williams with the current roster. I just don't think
You'd
it's
assume.
attainable. Even with Brett Rippon as your starting
Man,
quarterback.
last year we didn't think the Broncos were going to get a top 5 pick, though.
Yeah, but
Even with Russell Wilson at
their
quarterback.
worst case scenario happened, and they got a top 5 pick. And they got the 5th pick.
But that was
Yeah.
with Russ. I don't know. I'm too scared of last year to say anything like that. I understand what
Yeah.
you're saying, though, but I'm
This
too
is a
scared to
good
say
thing
that.
if that happened.
Yeah. I do agree with like the
The
backup.
Broncos going 0-17 next year would be an incredible blessing.
Yeah, I don't know. It could happen.
mean, yeah.
Not
Again, like, it
0-17.
It can't happen.
I don't think anybody would say no right now. But I saw some take yesterday. It's like you either have to be 12-5 or 4-13 or something. Like don't be in the middle. It's like, well,
I agree with that. Yep,
yeah, but you don't know
100%.
what you are. Like you don't know what you are until you go play football games. Like you can't just go into every season and say like, oh, I think we're good this year. Oh wait, nope, we're wrong. Or
No,
oh, we're bad. It's like, oh, we could have been
if
good.
you lose the first game, you should lose the next 16.
Wow. Wow. So like I don't know. In a vacuum, that sort of take does make sense where it's like, yes, you should either do one of those two things. You got to play the games to figure out whether you're good or not though.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should have an idea. But
Yeah.
the Broncos definitely, I think, internally think they're closer to the playoffs than they are to the first pick.
Eagles were closer
Thought
to
that last year too.
Yep.
Eagles were closer to first pick than playoffs last year. Giants were too, and they made the playoffs.
Jaguars,
Jags,
baby.
you would say the same thing. Broncos are the flip side, where they should have been going for it and did, and they still wound up there. But I don't know. If you get to the point where you have some bad luck and you're sitting there at 1-4, yeah, sure, do commit. I'm all in on the commit. But also with the backup quarterback thing, yeah, I don't need to see Jameis Winston here for a bunch of money so that we can
No,
have
not a
good
bunch of
Jameis
money.
Winston next year. Like, oh, congrats, you found him. And now he wants a 3-year deal. It's just a waste.
Let's talk about some quarterbacks later this week about those. Peter says, the Dre'Mont Jones take is so refreshing. I love Dre'Mont, but he is a luxury to have. There's way more needs on this team.
Yeah, I mean, he turned out to be a good draft pick.
He did. He
Oh,
really
yeah.
did. And
But you also could have had Terry McLaurin in that spot.
Instead, you'll get a comp pick.
Yeah, you will get a comp pick.
As long as you don't. What? How does that work?
They cancel out. It's super
about,
confusing.
It's about money in, money out.
Yeah.
With free
Well,
agents.
if he's getting $20 million, that's a pretty high bar for what the Broncos are going to spend.
And
Yep.
it doesn't work when you have guys that you cut. So like the Graham, it doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah. And one more super chat from Jacob, nails it right on the head. Hank's Chiefs, RK's Chargers, and Zach's Jaguars.
I was the
Let's go,
Jaguars guy.
Trevor
Where does
Lawrence.
that come from?
Let's go, Trevor.
It's just also Zach's Chiefs.
That was me.
It's my
You
Trevor
don't get the
Lawrence,
Jaguars.
baby.
No, he
I
loves the Chiefs.
wouldn't be there.
Just
I
like
don't.
Hank.
No, don't
won
be
the
putting
pizza
words
bet.
in my mouth.
You won a pizza bet,
Chargers
too.
I do
fan.
owe you guys pizza.
Yeah, I
Just
want
let
to
me
we
know
owe
when
a
you
lot
guys
of
bet on
pizzas.
that.
Like, damn it.
Should we hit a few of these comments on the website super quick?
Oh,
The
yeah.
count says the new ownership group should consider cutting Glasgow or on account of his subpar play and high salary, and then engender themselves to the fans by taping a voucher for
Endear?
It doesn't say endear.
Okay.
And you can look it up. By taping a voucher for $157, give or take, under each seat at Mile High during the first home game of the season. Wow.
Wait, why?
To be nice. I
That'd
think
be
maybe
fun.
the cap savings for Glass. No, if you divide that 11 million by everyone in the seats, maybe it's $157.
157
Yeah, that's my guess. Drew Peacock says, hey, fellas, I combined PFF's contract projections with over the cap's offseason calculator and made the following offseason moves. Let me know what you think. 1, cut Graham, Edmonds, Jacob Martin, and Cush. Restructure Darby and Courtland. Tender, Locke, and Griffith. Re-sign Singleton, 2 years, $10 million. Fleming, 1 year, $3 million. Sean Williams, 2 years, $6.5 million. Sign Caleb McGarry, 4 years, $56 million. And Pochik for 3 years, $21 million. Kareem Hunt, 2 years, $10 million. Ryan Neal, 2 years, $6.5 million. Heineke, 2 years, $8 million. And Justin Houston, 1 year, $4 million.
Justin Houston's still in the league?
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to have something very similar to that coming out today.
Love it.
Projecting. And Justin Houston is still in the league and is coming off a pretty sick season.
Was he with the Ravens?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. It'll all be written out later.
Got to be, what, 35?
Yeah. And on an efficiency basis was one of like the 5 best pass rushers in the NFL.
So you're bringing him to the Broncos is what you're saying.
Still got a couple
Marcus
decisions to make.
Ware 2.0.
Check out thednvr.com. And Gun1989 says, can we please start playing the game of who hates Brandon McManus the most? Sat behind the left side of the bench on Christmas Eve in FedEx Field once and made him move his practice net to the other side with my open displeasure of his performance.
Jesus.
Not bragging and definitely not proud of it. Just don't like him that much. Go Broncos, buck 'em. I don't know. Sounds like a brag right there.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
Wow. And maybe on a...
I don't want my kicker to have an attitude. That's all.
Also, like,
No, they can have a personality, just not an attitude.
Remember when
I-
Dwayne Stukes got here and he was first asked about Brandon McManus last year? He was like, do you lean on Brandon McManus being a vet, one of the only player left on the Super Bowl team, Super Bowl 50 team? And he said, no disrespect to Brandon McManus, but no way. Like, I don't take his advice for anything. And then the next time he was on the podium, he kind of walked it back a little bit, but it probably wasn't the best move to
It all
come
goes
in.
back to throwing the helmet. I'll never be able to get over it.
Vic.
Kicker can't throw the helmet because he didn't get to kick the field goal. I'm not cool with that.
And last comment coming in from Avada Luke. Can we take Deuce Vaughn without investing one of our high this year round 5 or up picks? Also, big shout out to our old pal Fumbies for the free ad on the pod on Twitter this AM. Do you think he's a Spotify or an Apple listener?
There's more bad
Apple.
reviews on the Apple, so.
Oh, okay, yep. So essentially, what he's asking is, can you get Deuce Vaughn with the Broncos' 6th round pick because they don't have a 7th round pick?
No.
I don't think so.
he's so small.
I think 4th or 5th.
I think 5th.
4th, you absolutely could. 5th, I think you almost certainly could. Things shake out weird. The thing is, there's so many free agent running backs. There's so many running backs in the draft. I'd say probably
What's more
not.
valuable, though? I'd say if running back in the draft is more valuable than free agent.
Yeah, but I mean, all those running backs are going to wind up somewhere. You know, like there aren't going to be a bunch of teams with a bunch of.
Darren
names.
Sproles went in the 4th.
There
Wow.
we go. And I think teams now are more open to taking smaller, less conventional type of players than they were back then.
Man, Darren Sproles played 14 years in the league.
At
Yeah.
that size, too. How about that?
5'6".
That's the
See?
other thing is like, oh, he
Size.
did it, so Deuce Vaughn's gonna be okay.
Oh, no. That's not
No,
what I'm
he
saying.
did
Oh,
it,
no,
so
no,
Deuce
definitely.
Vaughn can also do it, though.
Yeah, like
And
it's
I think
possible.
teams are going to see that.
But the fact that he did it, I think, is gonna have like an outsized effect on what people expected Deuce Vaughn. When like the odds still are like he's just gonna get the
But for
shit
that-
kicked out of him. He's gonna be done.
But for that same
like if we're being honest.
But Henry, for that same reason, teams
It's
are going to
5-5.
say he did it, so Deuce Vaughn is going to be able to do it. So
Exactly.
we believe in him, so we're going to take him with a higher pick
Exactly.
than like the 6th round.
That's what I said.
Also, Austin Eckler, I think, is going to help pave the way for Deuce Vaughn a little bit. Obviously, I know
Yeah.
Austin's bigger, but still a small guy.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all we got today.
What did we learn today? We love small guys.
Uh,
Yeah,
what
size
did we
doesn't
learn
matter.
today?
There we go.
Interesting
yeah.
takeaway.
Yeah, Tiny Kings. Brendan
All
Bug.
right. We will talk to you guys tomorrow on this trash podcast.